Good evening, everyone. We welcome you to this edition of MacLeod's MedLife. We have with us Dr. A.B. Chandorkar, who's a renowned interventional cardiologist from Ruby Hall Clinic in Pune. Sir has done his entire medical education from Seth GS Medical College and KEM Hospital in Mumbai. Sir currently in Ruby Hall Clinic does more than 8,500 cath lab procedures, which include approximately 2,500 coronary interventions as well. Sir has been a postgraduate teacher at KEM Hospital and University of Pune for 14 years, and Sir has been invited as a faculty in more than 2,000 conferences, which includes both national and international. So we welcome Dr. A.B. Chandorkar, sir. Sir, the discussion for today will be on heart failure in 2022. So, sir, considering the limited armamentarium that we have for heart failure and looking at the recent evidence, the guideline recommendations and approvals for SGLT2 inhibitors in heart failure, what is your take on this, sir?
I think it's an excellent and very, very exciting development that has happened. Heart failure, as you know, is a killer. It is a killer with a worse mortality than even metastatic malignancies, with short-term survivals less than 50% at 2 to 5 years, depending on the subset you start off with. Unfortunately, we had very limited medical aid or even device aid for that matter, which changed the outlook of the patient to a significant degree. Of late, for the last few years, as we discussed the pillars, we're talking of beta blockers, mineralocorticoid receptor antagonists, we're talking of ARNI, and we're talking of either an ACE inhibitor or ARB before that. Now, we will add an SGLT2 inhibitor as the fourth pillar. And that has changed the landscape. Once upon a time, SGLT2 inhibitors were introduced into clinical medicine as oral hypoglycemic agents. So, which means they were applicable to only about 10% of the adult population in the world. There was application of these molecules, of course, with excellent outcomes and reductions of various endpoints. However, for some reason, empagliflozin and dapagliflozin were tried out in their respective trials in non-diabetic individuals as well, and the results were astounding. When these results came in, we saw that we were getting amazing amount of event rate reduction even in the non-diabetics. For some endpoints, the reductions were actually of a greater magnitude in non-diabetics than diabetics. So that set us thinking. In fact, for clinicians and for cardiologists, as well as for nephrologists, this is a very exciting time. In my 40 years of practice, I would say this is the second time I have been excited about a group of molecules which has the power to change the outcomes radically. The first time was with statins. We started life as drugs which could lower serum lipids. But now we use statins in high doses, lifelong, for patients who have a manifest vascular disease or who are at a high risk of getting vascular disease, irrespective of the serum lipid levels. And that is precisely what is going to happen to SGLT2 inhibitors. We are going to talk of their applicability to 100% of the population, to individuals who are at risk of developing heart failure, and in the light of, say, DAPA-CKD, even as organ protective drugs to save kidneys. And this is a unique twist which has happened. And I'm sure in times to come, just as we talk of statins as vascular protective agents which happen to lower your serum lipids, so also clinicians 2 decades from now will be talking of SGLT2 inhibitors as organoprotective drugs which happen to lower sugars in diabetic individuals. That's what is going to happen.
Sir, what are the implications of this evidence, especially with respect to the Indian clinical practice?
See, in India, unfortunately, we are the largest contributors to new onset diabetics, type 2 diabetics in the world, which is very sad. And the diabetic patients are the greatest contributor to organ failure, especially when it comes to heart, cardiovascular disease of all kinds, vascular as well as primarily myocardial disease, diabetes is a very big contributor. So in that sense, SGLT2 inhibitors will play a huge role because they are not just restricted to application in diabetics, but also in other patients who do not have diabetes whenever there is heart failure. Now, with EMPA preserved trials coming in, and I'm sure DAPA preserved will also follow in a short period of time, we are going to use these drugs to prevent heart failure and to preserve heart function, even in individuals with preserved ejection fraction, which is a huge sea change. And that's going to change the entire landscape and the outlook of these patients who otherwise had an inexorable downward spiral, which led to ultimately restricted lifestyle and death. And that's going to change really dramatically over a period of time. And this I see happening because the way the data is coming out with the reduced ejection fraction subset first, and now even with the preserved ejection fraction subset, I'm sure we are going to be using these drugs a lot more. In fact, let me bring you in on an editorial which was written by Milton Packer and John McMurray. And they both are unanimous that probably SGLT2 inhibitors will move higher rank than ARNI in the treatment of heart failure.
Thank you for the elaborate reply, sir. Sir, how would this evidence translate into clinical benefits to Indian patients?
See, we're very fortunate to be in a country where the pharma company is extremely innovative. And because of the competition and because of the regime that operates in this country, we're able to get excellent world quality drugs at the lowest possible price. And that makes a huge impact because cost of medication in chronic care, especially when it comes to a wretched condition like heart failure, would have a significant impact. The greatest advantage of SGLT2 inhibitors in heart failure is that they are very moderately priced. They only require OD dosage. The side effect profile is extremely tolerable. Both these agents, DAPA as well as EMPA, are very well tolerated. We need to spend a couple of minutes with the patient to counsel them chiefly on genitourinary hygiene and to keep themselves hydrated adequately. And that's about it. After that, there is nothing really. I used it in now hundreds of patients, honestly. And I had excellent outcomes with improvement in not just the symptomatic status, but also in the ejection fraction from wherever they were. And at this time, when DAPA-HF came in, I started using it on top of the ARNI rather than before ARNI. And I'm seeing improvement of ejection fraction even after addition on top of the baseline ARNI dose. And most of my patients land up on either 100 twice a day or 200 twice a day also of ARNI.
Sir, what is your final word to our physician audience?
My feeling is this is a very, very powerful drug which is now available to us, which is going to help us change the outcomes and the outlook of patients with an otherwise lethal condition of heart failure. This is the same situation when it comes to patients with chronic kidney disease. Even in kidney, the outcomes are excellent, and we find organ preservation even for the kidney. And we are going to have this drug, this group of drugs, at the moment 2 molecules, but I'm sure there will be more molecules in the pipeline, all proving the same point, that these drugs work, they work very powerfully, they work reproducibly, reliably, free of side effects, and thanks to the Indian pharma companies at a very, very modest price, which makes it a win-win-win situation. And we will definitely not just add years to life, but will definitely help add life to years. So they are a very powerful drug. Please use it. Our patients are going to thank us for this.
What are the factors that determine the clinical selection of SGLT2 inhibitors in the cardiology practice?
So whenever it comes to choice of agents in SGLT2 inhibitors, my choice at the moment is purely between 2 molecules. Canna has no data on non-diabetic patients, very sadly. Otherwise, in diabetic patients, Canna is a very powerful drug too. But they haven't done a single trial including non-diabetic patients. So it is out of the equation. So it is just between EMPA and DAPA. DAPA came first and it has come in at a very, very low price. EMPA came later and EMPA is yet to reduce its prices to that level. Realistically, in India, it's a very, very price sensitive market. And remember, heart failure therapy is not monotherapy. It is always this, that, and the other. So we are adding one more molecule to a host of other drugs that the patient is already on. So cost becomes a very, very important consideration and will remain so in our country for most of our patients. So from that viewpoint, DAPA takes precedence over EMPA till EMPA comes down in price. The event rate reduction on both in the reduced ejection fraction is pretty much the same, and surprisingly, to my surprise, the event rate reduction in the non-diabetics is actually of a greater magnitude than the diabetic individuals. So which is all the more heartening as a cardiologist to see. And that's why I'm so excited about this group of drugs, which is very, very powerful, universally applicable to patients with reduced ejection fraction, and increasingly we'll be using it a lot more in non-diabetic patients for kidney as well as heart protection. That's for sure. Reduced ejection fraction as well as preserved ejection fraction, the moment the heart failure criteria are met with, I think we'll be using it. And the next stage is to take patients onto the drugs earlier rather than later. So we'll preempt the onset of symptomatic or class 3, class 4 heart failure to a great extent. I think we're going to use a lot more of it. I'll take this opportunity of thanking Macleods for having invited me here to share some of my thoughts and experience with a very, very exciting molecule, which is going to change the landscape in the treatment of a wretched condition. And on this happy note, I'd like to wish all our colleagues all across the country and maybe out of India as well, a very, very happy holiday season and a happy new year. And may all of us be armed better to treat a very, very bad set of conditions which lead to inexorable, irreversible organ failure when it relates to heart and kidneys. And now we have an ally on our side, which is going to help us do it a lot better. Thank you so much.
We thank Dr. Chandorkar for his clinical insights, and we hope that the learnings we have from this will ultimately transform into better patient care in India. Till we see you again, goodbye.
Insights from the world's best medical minds. You are watching therightdoctors.com.